Capitalism feels like slavery disguised as a job. I am tired of waking up every damn day to go to a job and to still not be able to afford a roof over my head and food in my mouth. I am so fucking sick of being homeless on and off to the point where I'm severely depressed and full of anxiety due to a basic need not being met. I am so sick of living to paycheck to paycheck. I am so sick of working for businesses that treat me like shit, cut my hours, and yet I'm supposed to endure all of that and not quit because if I do I won't get any public assistance. I feel like the difference between working and slavery is we are paid and we are granted 2 days out of the week to relax if you work full time. Slaves were told what to do, when to wake up, taught to obey and to ensure they were serving their masters. How am I any different? Oh, it's just paid. It is really getting to me and it's so hard to accept. They say we aren't slaves and we get paid, but when the pay we receive barely even covers life's necessities, then we are nothing more than peasants. It seems like the system is not designed for people to make any progress. The average person starts at zero. To study you need to take up a loan. To buy a house you need a loan, as even a top-tier high-status job can't afford one. And they also have even more debt from studying. So you actually start at a really high negative number. Let's say $300,000. So any sort of additional income that could have been progress made is going to be used to pay down debt. But once you have money to spare, making more because ridiculously easy. Feels like? Babe, it is. Any economic system that doesn't work for 90 of the people 90 of the time ought not exist, so you have to ask yourself, who does this system exist for? It's not you and me. A gilded cage is still a cage. Being able to choose your cage doesn't make it less a cage. How do you think the elites get their hard-earned money? By getting the value differences that their slaves generated through hard work. Can we all say it together? 1, 2, 3, it is. It feels this way because it's by design. Under capitalism, those born without wealth are born enslaved to those born with wealth. If you are born without wealth, you must spend ages 5 to 65 working or training to work, generating profit for someone with wealth. You must work train these 60 years to buy back the freedom you were born without. If you are lucky enough to accumulate enough wealth in your lifetime to buy back your freedom, this can only be accomplished by using your accumulated wealth to enslave people less wealthy than you. It's exploit or be exploited. Enslave or be enslaved. Capitalism truly is a violent and unjust system. Ding ding ding. It is. Who's going to tell him? Because it basically is slavery with extra steps. You can break out of it, but it's bloody difficult and you're still a part of this system, just on the opposite end. It's a feature, not a bug. Owning things is not a job. I think it's more concise to state the problem than to recontextualize work. BCUZ it is. The capitalists beg to differ. Or rather squash all hope and hold you hostage to agree. $7.25 per hour is legalized slavery. That's because it is. When costs go up and wages don't, you're effectively a slave. Think about it like this: back in the day they housed and fed their slaves. Now for a good portion of our population they can only pay for housing and food. There is no difference. Some can't afford even that. This system is trash. And fuck all those who support it. The history of capitalism is it arose out of feudalism. The corporate structure is basically like a feudal structure. Hence, low mid-level employees have as much rights in an organization as serfs or indentured servants did in a feudal estate. Employees are placed at the beck and call of corporate leaders, who are so separated from the day-to-day work that they're basically turned into a court, vying for further recognition, each trying to improve their positioning for further corporate titles. It's supposed to be disguised? That's exactly what it is. Always has been. That's because it is. At least for the lower classes anyway. Supposedly. Office jobs are vastly different. Wow. Having read through all these comments, I am saddened by how many still buy into the myth of the capitalist dream. Congratulations, you're now aware of exactly where you are. It's called economic slavery, and it's designed into the system. Because that's what it is. Your feelings are correct. The government wants us to think we are free, but we're not. Everyone is tied to a job just to be able to take care of our most basic needs. We are kept at the lowest level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs so we can't get ahead and rise above. They want us to keep struggling for basic human needs so we can't focus on anything else. As your title says, it is. The only difference doesn't matter the color of your skin. It's different, but it's a modern form of slavery. Slavery with extra steps. You were born into a system that was well established before you came along. All the resources have been divided up and claimed. You get no input as to how the system works. And the system is designed to keep the powerful in place. And everybody else just uncomfortable enough that all their energy is spent keeping them in place. Instead of getting ahead. You never agreed to these rules. If you aren't going to fix anything yourself, then at least vote for people that will share your perspective. OIDK, how you do it, bro. I've decided that if I'm homeless, I'm giving myself exactly 1 month to pull it all together, or I'm killing myself. Shit's ridiculous here and I want out. Yeah, no shit. It's called wage slavery. The whole point is to keep us too busy and broke to burn it the fuck down like we should. Alexander Berkman wrote a book called Now and After that highlights a lot of the fundamental flaws of our current system. That's because it is slavery. Sure, our bosses aren't allowed to beat us physically, but mentally they can. We might get paid where slaves weren't, but slaves also didn't have to buy their own food, shelter. We are slaves with a bit more freedoms, but at the end of the day our labor has been exploited. Our bosses are the group of people buying up income properties. So we may not rent directly from our boss, but that group of people are the people who own the property we live in. They increase the rent and don't offer pay increases, so we are forced to work even more hours to survive. Capitalism has always been slavery with extra steps. When chattel slavery ended, slavery as a service SaaS came to the forefront. It's a much better system for the owner class, since they have to pay for far fewer of the maintenance expenses of their slaves. And if a slave dies, just grab another one from the slave pool. Work them as hard as you want. And if they break, oh well, the slave pool is always full. The only and major difference between capitalism and slavery is simply put, you can change your master at your discretion. Man shrugging. I just spent $60 on some chips, salsa, sour cream, and a few frozen pizzas. Shit is fucked. Nah. Under slavery, ownership valued you because they'd paid for you. And you were guaranteed food and lodging. Maybe not great food and lodging, but they were likely guaranteed. Because it is. That's because it is. You're a wage slave. Honestly, I'm just glad you've realized it. Now over the course of the next year you'll realize what has to be done about it and get on board.